Hello, everyone, and welcome back. As always, I'm your girl, Candy Washington. So, before we dive into today's episode, which is breaking down the breaking expose by the Hollywood Reporter on whether or not the Bravo producers knew about Monica Garcia being reality Von Tease. Now, we are going to hear directly from the producers themselves. They are actually going on record. It's not just a source or someone said or we heard. These are the producers speaking themselves. So before we dive in, go ahead and like, subscribe, and share. And don't forget to grab a conspiracy tee. You can get it at candywashington.com/shop or link down below or pinned at the top. So with that, let's dive right on into the expose. So as you may or may not know, The Hollywood Reporter is a very well-regarded, well-respected media outlet for the entertainment industry. They don't usually cover reality TV, more so over the last couple of years as reality TV has become way more mainstream. We really saw this breakthrough with Scandival because how big it got. So like The Hollywood Reporter, Variety, what else is a big one? Deadline. Those kind of outlets are really well respected and regarded in the entertainment industry. So the fact that the Bravo showrunners / producers are going on the record with them is a big deal. Usually we get according to a source in page 6 or according to a source in reality blurb. And we're like, well, who is this quote source? Well, at this point, the source is the producers themselves. So let's dive into what they had to say. But while we go through it, I want you to think, do you think the producers knew that Monica Garcia was reality Von Tease? Or do you think that they were surprised, lied to, and blindsided, just like the rest of the cast and, of course, us, the viewers, as well? So put it down below. I want to know what you think. So let's dive in. The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City is having a moment. After an explosive ending to season 4 and a 3-part reunion, the showrunners behind the Bravo reality series say of the final revelation, quote, "Nobody had any idea, but we knew it was big." Perhaps it was when Jennifer Lawrence reenacted a scene from The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City season 4 closer on the red carpet at the Golden Globes, calling the episode the best finale I have ever seen on reality TV. Maybe it was when California Congressman Robert Garcia quoted housewife Heather Gay's diva caliber finale soliloquy, receipts, proof, timelines, screenshots to make a case against Donald Trump on the floor of the House. Or maybe it was when dance videos began emerging on TikTok using Gay's percussive delivery as both backbeat and creative inspiration. Whenever it happened, the showrunners of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City are now fully aware that their show is having a moment. Ahead of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City's third and final reunion episode, which airs on Bravo January 23rd, Bravo Senior Vice President of Production, Noah Sampton, Shed Media Senior Vice President of Programming and Development, Lisa Shannon, and executive producer Lori Gordon spoke with The Hollywood Reporter about the franchise's dramatic 4th season. Now, I'm going to stop there because these are serious, heavy hitters. You want to talk about people with power? These are the people with the power. The Senior Vice President of Production at Bravo, Noah Sampton. Shed Media. So Shed Media is the actual boots on the ground production company. So I'll break it down real quick just in case you guys don't know. So NBC Universal is the actual head corporation that owns Bravo. So Bravo is a network under NBC Universal's umbrella, okay? So Bravo then produces a show called The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. But the actual production company, this is the company that will cast the show. This is the company that when they break the fourth wall, they have, the producers who are there, they have little headsets on. Those aren't Bravo's producers, that's Shed Media. So basically what they do is they outsource like casting, managing the day-to-day relationship with the housewives, securing the sets, location scouting, all of that stuff, right? That gets outsourced to a third-party production company called Shed Media. So these are heavy hitters. This is the senior vice president of programming, okay? And development, which is Lisa Shannon. And then Lori Gordon is also their executive producer as well. So these are the heavy hitters. This isn't, quote, I heard it from a source. These are the actual people that are saying this. And this is important because this is a big deal. Now let's keep going. The showrunners say that they were just as blindsided as the audience when a private investigator Heather Gay hired, revealed that rookie housewife Monica Garcia was one of the people behind an Instagram account that had been trolling the show's cast for years. They also dish on the backstory of Heather's mysterious season 3 black eye, Monica's future with the franchise, and the one thing for sure the audience will not forgive a housewife star for. Hint, it's not going to prison, as we all know. Now, before we dive into what they had to say, I think that I personally, just my opinion, I do not think the producers knew. And the reason why I think that the producers did not know is because, number one, they are now going on record saying they did not know. And if they turns out they did know, that could open them up to legal liability, right? Say something unfortunately does really go wrong and they're on record saying they had no idea, but it turns out they did have an idea, that could open them up to a legal case. And I think they're smarter than that. I think their legal team is smarter than that. I think if they did know that Monica was lying and that she was reality Von Tease, I don't think that they would say anything. They would play very coy because they don't have to say anything, right? So there's that. And then also because the series ended during a cast trip. And I think if production knew, they would have finagled the storylines and they would have finagled the scenes where the season would not have ended on a cast trip. This is the first time in housewife history has a season ended during a cast trip. So I think those two reasons, I think that the producers are telling the truth. But we're going to go through what they have to say. I want to know what you guys think. And put your comments down below. Put your comments, put your questions down below because I want to know what you guys think. Okay, here we go. Did you know, as the finale was unfolding, what a phenomenon it was going to be? Noah Sampton says, I certainly didn't know. Lori called the network after that Bermuda weekend and was just gushing about this amazing situation that had unfolded and how incredible it was and shocking. I was just totally confused by exactly what had happened and trying to understand. I didn't get it. This is what I mean when I say the quote, people at the top, these executives and these, top producers, they don't actually understand what's going on. And he's admitting that. He's like, I was confused. I didn't get it. Because they don't really have a pulse on social media, on bloggers, on content creators, on exposés, on exclusives, on how it all really works. They're kind of just behind their computers, producer, executive people, talking about the budgets and all of that stuff. They don't actually understand what the audience is actually talking about and what's going on in real time. And he admitted that. He was like, I didn't understand. He was trying to get it, So they don't understand the nuances of what's going on. That's why the shows now are catching up to us. That's why people on YouTube and on Instagram and on TikTok, we're breaking stories. We are doing conspiracy theories. We're putting everything together. We're knowing how everything works out way before these executives because they don't have their ear to the ground. They don't have their eye on the pulse, They're too busy doing line sheets and all of that stuff. So that's why there's this huge disconnect by the narrative that the executives put out there and these fake, news stories, and how Andy Cohen has no idea what he's talking about half the time at the reunion couch because they're not actually paying attention to what's really happening. He didn't even understand the gravity of it. It's basically like trying to explain to your grandparents what TikTok is. You know what I mean? So Lori Gordon goes on to say, the way Heather found out that day, it was such a rush and it was so sudden. And she was processing a lot. When she told me what she found out, we knew that she had to tell the women, Lisa, Whitney, and Meredith specifically. And we knew it was big. The girls had no idea about Monica. I had no idea. Shad and Bravo, nobody had any idea. Heather had gotten that call that last day. She was really flustered and upset. And as she started to process that out loud with me privately, it became, well, then that's how we're going to tell this story. And the viewer should really go along for the same ride as she did. Did we know it was going to be huge? I think we knew it was shocking to the cast. So because they were so shocked by it, it was almost inevitable that the viewers would be too, because it was just a ride. That last 24 hours was just crazy. Again, I believe it. And, if you're a candy cane, I've said the same exact theory, which is now being confirmed by the executive producer herself. I said the producers found out when Heather found out. No, this is what I said. Heather found out prior to Bermuda, but she got confirmation in Bermuda. And when Heather got the confirmation, that's when she relied that information to producers. And then her and producers got together and said, this is how we are going to now tell this story. Which is why it makes sense that the producers only found out in Bermuda. Because if producers had already known, then they would have planned for the season to continue past Bermuda and not end the season on a cast trip. Do you see what I'm saying? So I think that this is true. And I think that, again, it goes to show that the producers, and this isn't a dig at the producers at all, because, producers can't be all things to everyone. I think the solution is the producers need to hire someone who understands social media on a real level, who understands, what it means to be a troll, what it means to be a content creator, what the conspiracy theories are, what is the entire collective consciousness thinking, what do the people who love Monica think? What do the people who don't love Monica think? What are the blind items out there? They need to hire people on their teams who actually understand how media and narratives work today. So that the producers can produce the show, but yet they can also be informed and understand the consequences. Like, to me, this shows that Lori, the producer, and this is no shade to her, I think she does a great job. I don't know her personally, but I'm just saying from what we see, didn't really understand what this meant. Like, I don't think they really understood why the women were reacting like this. They just knew the women were reacting. And that's why they need people on their team who actually understand the ramifications of what Monica did and how and why and how that would affect the cast members. Okay. Just to be clear, the production really didn't know Monica's connection to the Instagram account Reality Von Tease until Heather uncovered that. Is that accurate? Gordon, yes. Lisa Shannon, we didn't even know what Reality Von Tease was. See? They didn't even know what Reality Von Tease was. Lori called me and gave me a heads up, and I was like, what even is that? It wasn't this big blog to us, and we would have breadcrumbed it more throughout the season if it was something that we knew and we were leading up to. I agree. Our big concern was like, sure, it means a lot to the ladies, but we don't know what this blog is. So is this going to be a big aha moment for a viewer? Lori and the team did an amazing job making the viewer feel as shocked by it as the women were and as impacted by it as the women were. This confirms what I just said. They don't understand the impact that social media, i.e. YouTubers, Instagrammers, TikTok, podcast, conspiracy theorists, all of that has on the viewer's experience of the show. Because I think they only talk to one type of viewer. Because there are two types of viewers. The first type of viewer is the viewer that just tunes in every Tuesday night, 9 o'clock, or whatever day of the week it is. They tune in every Wednesday at 8, every Thursday at 5, whatever. They just tune in, they watch the 1 hour show, and that's it. They believe everything the women say, hook, line, and sinker. They don't think critically. They don't ask questions. They just watch the show for that 1 hour and believe it to be true. That's one viewer. That's the viewer that these people usually are talking to, and that's why they're so tone deaf and offbeat. Then you have the other viewer, the viewers like us, who we're on social media, we're reading the blogs, we're listening to the content creators, we're listening to the blind items, we're getting the scoop, we're asking questions, we're having conversations about it, not just in that 1 hour. We're diving deep, we're questioning things. Who's telling the truth? Who's not telling the truth? Who's a fraud? Who's not a fraud? Does that make sense? Does it not make sense? Who knew? When did they know? Why did they know? So there's two different types of viewers. And that's why I think the producers need somebody on their team that is able to talk to that second viewer, the viewers like us, who are doing the deeper dives, who are thinking critically, who are asking the questions, who are talking about it. That's why these producers had no idea the gold mine that they were sitting on with this. And they didn't even understand the implications of it. Because whether or not you knew who specifically Reality Von Teese was or not, to be honest with you, I didn't know Reality Von Teese was until I realized it was Monica. And we did a spoiler alert 2 weeks before the finale. So over here with the Candy Canes, we knew Monica was Reality Von Teese about 2 weeks before it broke on the show. And it's time-stamped on YouTube. You guys can go back and watch it. But that doesn't matter. Because it doesn't matter what the name of the blog was. What matters is that Monica lied about who she was, created a troll account anonymously, then went and stalked one of the cast members, Jen, infiltrated herself in her house, getting private videos and security cam footage, and then posting it online, bashing Jen and bashing all of these women. That is what actually is the gold, not gold mine, but that's the juice here. It could have been any blogger. It could have been under any name. It's not the name that she did it under. It's what she did. And you can see how they don't actually understand the implications of that. Okay, let's keep going. What was your reaction to finding out one of your cast members had hidden this from you? Gordon, it's 2 parts. One part is like, how did we miss this? How did we not know? Obviously. And the second part of this was, well, we've got to let Heather embrace this and tell this story. There are a lot of things going through my head personally as a showrunner, like, well, what do we do with this? Are people going to think we knew? Are people going to think we lied? The most important thing to us was to tell the story as authentically as it came out so that people would realize that we had no idea. But it was upsetting because Heather was so upset and she started to walk me through all the evidence that she had gotten in those hours. It was really quite shocking and more flooded in as the editing process went on. I think those are 2 good insights. The first is, how did you miss it? Because that's a big question that they should be asking themselves. That's a huge question. How did you miss that? How did you miss that this person that you cast and you put in a group of women who this person had systematically stalked and bullied and cyber harassed for years? You then hired this woman and you put her directly into these people's lives. I get it's a reality show, but like Angie said, we invited you into our house. You met our husbands. You met our children. And it might be that it's Monica running a troll blog account today, but what if it was even scarier than that? What if it was deeper than that? How are they missing these really big things? Because me personally, let me know how you feel. I'll just tell you how I feel. Personally, I would not want to be in a cast with someone who has lied about who they are, who has stalked one of the other cast members, who has posted intimate things, took videos without permission, and cyberbullied people. I wouldn't want to be a part of that. That's weird and bizarre. And literally committed fraud and lied and schemed to be a part of the show. I would feel personally very unsafe and uncomfortable. So they're right to question, how did we miss this? And then the second part of that is, are people going to think that we knew and we lied? I don't think the producers knew. And that is a problem because they should have known. They need to know who they are hiring. They need to know who they are putting in the midst of other people. Because to be honest with you, think about it. If Monica was a man, and she and this man had done everything to a woman or a group of women that Monica did, driving by their house, lying about their identity, setting up fake burner accounts to post about this person, taking private videos and screenshots of this person, infiltrating into this person's life with their children and their family and their homes, breaking into this person's security footage to steal security video to host it. Having a group chat discussing everything that they find out about this person, asking people to share the person's house location address. Because remember, she asked Tanisha to give her Heather's address. If a man had done all of this to a woman, we would be like, this guy is a psycho. He's a stalker. He's dangerous. You need what is it called? You need what are those things? A restraining order against this person. When you put it in a different context that is more socially understandable, you start to realize how unhealthy and scary and dangerous of a person Monica really is. Imagine your best friend, and your best friend is like, I broke up with this guy, and he did all of these things to me. You would be like, wow, that guy's pretty dangerous and scary. But because it's Monica doing it to another group of women, all of a sudden Monica is the queen and she's a princess and she's this and she's that. No, the behavior itself is really scary. And the producers should be asking that question. How did you miss it? It's a big question. And I do think they missed it. I don't think they knew. Okay, but I want to know what you guys think. Put it down below. How much in casting are you dependent upon potential housewives being reliable narratives of their own lives? And how much are you background checking? Really great question. Noah says, we do extensive background checking on cast, but a fake profile troll account wouldn't come up. There's no record of that account through her name. So yeah, there are things that can slip through and do, and it's certainly not something we love when we have a surprise like that. It turned out well, I guess, creatively for the end of the season, but it was a pretty shocking for all of us, and certainly we would not have brought Monica on the show in the first place if we knew that was going on. I agree and disagree. I agree that they would not have brought Monica on the show if they knew it was going on. I disagree that they do extensive background checking on the cast. Because if you do extensive background checking on the cast, then how did Jen Shah get on the show? And if you did extensive background checking on the cast, then how did you guys not realize that Jen Shah in 2021 sent a cease and desist to Monica Fowler, because remember she has like 3 or 4 last names, to Monica Fowler, as being a person who was supplying information to Reality Von Tease. And this cease and desist was sent to Bravo as well, to Bravo's legal department, as that has come out. This was in 2021 prior to them casting her. I don't think that means that they knew. I think that means they didn't do their due diligence. Because remember, this is nothing but a corporation. And in a lot of corporations, when there's bureaucracy, when there's red tape, a lot of things falls through the cracks. HR doesn't talk to, production. Production doesn't talk to, programming or whatever it is. It's like any type of 9 to 5 corporate job where the departments are not communicating with each other, so things fall through the cracks. I think that Jen Shah's legal team, like it has been exposed, did send a copy of that cease and desist to Bravo. I don't know if they sent it to Shed Media or not. They probably got the copy and filed it away, and nobody checked it. Nobody made a note. Nobody cross-referenced it because Monica Fowler was named on that cease and desist as being a person who was identified as being part of Reality Von Tease. And Monica Fowler used that same name when she sent the email to casting, which was exposed on the first episode of the reunion when casting did the screenshot. And she's like, I'm Monica Fowler, blah, 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 blah. So she was going by the same name. This is where things fall through the cracks. And this is why they don't do a good job screening people. Nobody communicated to Shed Media, who is the production that's actually casting the show, that there was a cease and desist against a Monica Fowler. So this little cease and desist paper got filed away. This is just what I'm guessing because this makes the most sense. Got filed away. And then Monica Fowler is emailing Shed Media, I want to be on the show. And nobody is talking to each other. So nobody knows this is the same Monica Fowler. Nobody knows this is the same person. Because they probably didn't take Jen Shah's little cease and desist that seriously. So they got it, they filed it away, and it was what it was. But if these people truly are doing extensive background checks like he's claiming, someone should have flagged that. Especially because they knew Monica and Jen had a relationship. That's why Monica got cast on the show. Her entire angle was, I'm Jen Shah's ex-assistant. I gave evidence to the feds. So if you knew Monica had a connection to Jen, why didn't you cross-reference every single document that Jen gave you, naming people, to ensure Monica said she was who she said she was? So I don't think you're doing extensive background checks. Because if you did, that would have popped up. But I don't think you would have hired her if you knew who she was. That I do agree with. Okay, let's keep going. In so many ways, Monica was a great cast member in the sense of story and drama. Will she come back? Do you want to continue working with her after she deceived you? Noah says, I would say that Lisa and Lori and I have had about 7,000 conversations about that subject. We probably have another few hundred ahead of us still. She is a great cast member. She's open and vulnerable, and she represents a different kind of person in Salt Lake than we have on the show. She comes from a different background, and there's a lot about her that the audience can relate to in a way that's different from the other women. But at the same time, there's the deception. There's the relationship with the other cast members. It's a really complicated puzzle. From a rating standpoint, you would want to find a way for her to come back, but it's really challenging in this situation. We're just trying to figure it out. Shannon says, it's a situation we've never been in before. I mean, it was one thing with Lisa and Meredith and the piece of G, whatever, all of that stuff. Anyway, all of that, a hot mic moment from season 2 in which cast member Lisa Barlow shreds fellow housewife and longtime off-screen friend Meredith Marks. But this is a different beast than I think any of us have dealt with, so we're kind of moving our way through it. See, this is the thing. The fact that they are even contemplating this bringing her back is very scary. Very, very, very scary, given everything that they know and everything that's going on. But we'll see. But again, as we all know, I guess green, money, ratings, trumps safety, accountability, transparency, so we'll see. We'll see. Will you change anything about your casting process post Monica? Noah says, it's a good question that we have not discussed. I don't really see how you protect for something like that. Well, I just explained to you how you do it, but there you go. I mean, it's not my area of expertise, but it's certainly something we should look into. Well, it's obviously not your area of expertise. And, if you guys need help, go ahead and reach out to me, producers. I have a lot of ways for you to prevent this type of thing going on forward. And I have a lot of ways to cast interesting people that don't put other cast members either at emotional or physical risk and danger. Let's keep going. On this show, you've had a cast member go to prison, but none of Jen Shah's fraud victims were her castmates. So, how do the women feel about it? What have the other housewives said about whether Monica ought to be allowed to stay? Thank you, the Hollywood Reporter. I made this point weeks ago when everyone was like, oh, but Jen Shah is horrible. All of the people on Bravo are frauds. I made this distinction. I was like, sure, Teresa went to prison. Sure, Apollo on Atlanta went to prison. Sure, Jen Shah went to prison. We get it. Those are bad people. Tom Girardi, Erica Jane, we get it. But their fraud is different in two very specific ways. Number one, just like they said, and we said before, their victims of fraud were not their castmates. Where Monica is the one who lied and did the fraud directly to her castmates. That's a very huge distinction. It's one thing to defraud this group of people versus you defrauded me. And that's the difference when it comes to who the victims are. The second big difference, and this is also very scary, is that the other Bravo fraudsters were doing their fraud to do the fraud because they wanted money, because they wanted, whatever. They were just doing fraud. They were doing fraud before the show. They were doing fraud during the show. They're probably still doing fraud after the show. Okay. But they were just doing fraud because they were doing fraud. I'm not minimizing what they did. I'm not absolving them. Obviously, they need to be in jail. They need to give the money back. I'm not saying that what they did is okay. Obviously not. But the difference is Monica did her fraud specifically and implicitly out of her own mouth in order to get on the show. And that is very scary, and that is different. She did it specifically, and she said it out of her own mouth. I'm only here doing this crap with Jen because it'll get me on the show. Kim Kardashian started out as an effing assistant. Look at her now, blah, 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 blah. Let's do the whole burner account, the reality Vontees. The specific intention of her fraud was to be on the show. And that's very scary, and that is different. Not only are her victims different, they are actually her cast members, but the entire reason of her fraud, of this particular fraud scheme, was to be on the show. That's different than the other type of Bravo fraudsters. They're just your sort of classic run-of-the-mill fraudster, scheming and scamming, dipping it and doing it. Dorit PK, I'm looking at you. That type of stuff. It's a different type of fraud, and it's scary. So this is a great question. Gordon says, their starting point is different because of what they went through with Jen Shah. They felt like this kind of reminiscent of that. They're just burned. Noah says, you're going to see a lot of what they felt in that third part of the reunion where we really get into this, and then they have their chance there to say exactly what they feel. So they basically didn't really answer the question because they know it's different and they know it's bad. Basically just saying, oh, watch the third part. You didn't answer the question because you know how wrong and weird Monica is, but the producers are trying to leave a little bit of leeway in case they want to bring her back. That's why they didn't directly answer the question. Oh, you're going to see how they felt in the third part of the reunion. That wasn't the question. That wasn't the question. How do the other women feel about it? In your own words, you're the one being interviewed. I think that the producers are trying to absolve themselves of any culpability or accountability in the situation. And I think they're also trying to leave a little bit of a loophole in case they do decide to bring Monica back. That's what I think is going on here. How did the Monica reveal not leak in between shooting in Bermuda last May and the airing of the finale June 2nd? Well, you guys didn't do your research because it did leak. We exposed, it's literally a video on my channel. It's called Spoiler Alert. Monica Garcia exposed as the blogger Reality Von Tease. It did leak. We talked about it on this channel weeks before the finale. So again, people not doing their homework. But here we go. Shannon says, I give credit to the cast because this is, in my memory at least, a reality first where this such a big bombshell that did not leak in any way. Again, you guys aren't doing your jobs because it leaked here. We talked about it here. We exposed it here. Gordon says, when we did the beach scene, we knew that we wanted to be private. I had only 2 cameras and 1 audio and me and the women, and they came down and Heather told them and we looked up the house. Monica was getting makeup done for dinner. Angie was getting makeup done for dinner. We just kind of made it super private. Really, nobody knew what was happening. When we were editing the show, everyone was just really good about not letting it out. Again, not true. Not true. Because a couple of people let it out. We talked about it on this channel. I saw it on another blog account. Tanisha was talking about it, and I forget the name of the guy. One of Jen Shah's old assistants, like Moriel or Moriarty or something like that. I forget what his exact name is. Sorry, dude. He was also speaking about it too. So it did get leaked. That's what I mean by they are not, by they, the producers, they don't have someone on their team who is actually understanding what's happening in real time, in real life, on social media. Because it did get leaked. We knew Monica was Reality Von Tease weeks before the finale. I'll actually, you know what I'll do? I will link that video in the description box so you guys know I'm telling the truth. When we get done with the live, I'm going to link that video. It is time-stamped. So you guys know this did leak. We were talking about it weeks before the finale. But it's bizarre that the producers either are choosing to say it wasn't leaked or like they've been in the dark and they actually just don't know that it was leaked. Either way, they're wrong because it was leaked. So I'll link that video in the description box when we get done with the live. Okay. What happened behind the scenes after that dinner? Gordon says, we kept the women separate. I just sat with Monica for an hour in silence. Not even kidding. Didn't even talk. She just cried. I think it was a real wake-up call for her. She just kept saying, I'm so embarrassed. She flew out with me on a separate flight and some other of the crew the next morning. Well, is she embarrassed or is she just mad because she got caught? I don't think that Monica gets embarrassed. I don't think she has that type of personality. I think she mimics words and behaviors that she thinks will get her out of being accountable for her actions. Do I think she was embarrassed? No. Do I think she has remorse? No. I think the only person Monica feels anything for is herself. That's just my opinion. I don't think she has the personality type to be empathetic toward how other people feel or to feel guilt about how she makes other people feel. And if you don't believe me, keep watching the reunion. Reunion part 2, I didn't see a woman who was embarrassed. I didn't see a woman who had any contrition. I didn't see a woman who had any remorse. I saw a woman who came up there and called these women every name under the sun, every name in the book, deflected, gaslit, lied, continued to be a fraud, and continued to be a hateful, spiteful person. She was talking to Heather and Angie and Lisa like they did something to her. And I'll wait. What did any of this women do to Monica? Why is Monica so hateful and so spiteful and has so much vitriol for these women? If she was so embarrassed as she's claiming to these producers, and it was this wake-up call, because again, the producers are leaving a loophole to justify bringing her back if they choose to. That's what this narrative is right now. That's what the producers are basically trying to say. Listen, don't blame us. Our hands are clean. but we're going to leave a little bit of leeway in case we want to bring her back. That's what they're doing. If she was this wake-up call and embarrassed, how come we're not seeing any of that at the reunion? If I had behaved the way Monica behaved and then I had to go to a reunion, I would be so freaking humbled. The first and only words out of my mouth would be, I am so sorry. Please forgive me. I am so sorry. Because nobody's perfect. We've all done some messed up stuff in our life, and we will do messed up things in our life because we're humans. I don't expect her to be perfect or an angel or a saint. Nobody is. Nobody on this earth is perfect. But usually people do feel some type of remorse or guilt or at least accountability, when they realize that what they did fundamentally hurt someone, whether it was your intention or not. If I intentionally hurt you, I'll feel bad. And if I didn't intentionally hurt you, I'll still feel bad because it doesn't feel good to hurt someone. If you're normal. Just my opinion. Okay. One of this show's unsolved mysteries has been Heather's black eye from season 3, which she revealed during the finale happened at the hands of Jen Shah. Can you tell me what the production knew about that black eye at the time? Okay. Gordon says, we didn't know. It was always Heather's story to tell, and we didn't know what had happened. We didn't have any camera coverage of it, and so we were operating from a place of needing to trust her word on it and the two of them. But when she came clean in the finale, she finally connected the dots, which we'll hear more about in the final reunion. If she was going to come clean and tell the women about Monica, she knew that she would have to come clean about that. She's a different person than she was a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. Everything that happened with Monica was just like, I can't do this again. I can't have a relationship that has toxicity surrounding it. That's why she chose at that final dinner to tell the women and all of production. Nobody knew that Jen Shah had done that. And this reminded her of that. It was a punch in a different way, or not a punch, but she ended up with a black eye in a different way. You could have kept the punch analogy. You should have said it was a punch in the gut. Anyway, Shannon then says, the key word for them is deception. Everyone keeps saying, was it really that bad what Monica did and comparing it to Jen? But I think for them, it was just the deception of it all. Exactly. It wouldn't have been very different if she had started the season and said, listen, I have this account and here's what I was a part of it in full transparency. For them, they were so burned by so much of the deception that had happened in prior seasons that it just triggered things all over again. Exactly. I don't care that Monica is a blogger. Who cares? Get a blog, get a podcast, get a TikTok, get a YouTube channel. Who cares? It's not that she was a blogger. It's not even the fact that she was a Bravo blogger or a Real Housewives blogger. That doesn't matter either. The problem is she wasn't transparent and honest about who she was. That is the problem. Not that she was blogging about these people. Not even that she was throwing, shade at them. It's that she lied about who she was. That is the problem. And it's also, my mind is blown when people try to create, in my opinion, a false comparison between Jen Shah and Monica. You can't compare the two. Just like we said, Jen Shah's victims were not her co-stars. Jen Shah did not create a telemarketing scheme in order to get on a reality show. Monica's victims are her co-stars. All of the women she's sitting at the cast roundtable, all of those women are Monica's victims. That's very different. And Monica started her Troll account and in her own words got in, aka infiltrated Jen Shah's life in order to be on the show. They're apples to oranges. Apples to oranges. Did Jen Shah lie? Yeah, but a lot of them lie. Everybody lies to varying degrees. But who the victims are and the intention behind the fraud are apples to oranges. Apples to oranges. It's like saying, someone who robs a bank is the same as the person who robs you personally. Those are two different things. I'm going to feel a different type of way. I get it. There's a bank robber. Somebody's out there robbing a bank. That is bad. But if a person comes into my home and robs me of my jewelry, my money, my personal valuables, they rob me personally. Those are two very different situations. Jen Shaw is the bank robber. She was out there robbing the bank. Monica is the person who walked into your home and stole from you directly. That is what the difference is. And it blows my mind that people don't understand that. It's a very different situation when somebody walks into your house and steals from you versus somebody walking into a bank. That's the difference. Okay. In part 3 of the reunion, there's a pretty revealing, raw, surprising moment with Heather, really talking and breaking it all down with Andy Cohen that is incredibly vulnerable. Heather at the reunion from season 3 was a completely broken person, and seeing where she is now, just everything that she's accomplished in her life, and just how she was carrying herself and everything, it just feels like it was a very healing year for her. I agree, because to be honest with you, I actually like Heather now. One second. I had to drink a little tea. I actually like Heather now. She's grown on me. Where before I wasn't really checking for Heather and bad weather and her weird dynamic with Whitney and the weird codependent personality type she was. I wasn't checking for that. But I like the Heather who she is now. She has an opinion, she speaks up for herself, she has a point of view. She's being her authentic self. And that's why I like her, because now we actually get to see who Heather is. Rather than hiding behind, I'm a martyr, I have to sacrifice, I have to protect. Girl, bye, shut up. Nobody cares. Nobody's buying that. And nobody can connect to that type of personality because it's a mask. Just like narcissistic people wear masks, codependent people wear masks too. It's just that mask is, oh, it's okay. I don't care. You can walk over me. I'll take all the breadcrumbs and you can treat me like whatever. It's okay. I'm so nice. I'm so kind. I'll sacrifice. That's also a mask because that's not really who you are. It's not really who you are. So now that Heather is taking her mask off and she's showing us who she is, I like her. I like her. Because that's actually the paradox, I guess, of when you have that codependent personality. You think the only way I can get people to like me is by not being myself and by being who they want me to be. But the truth is, when you actually be yourself, that's when people actually get to like you. And that's why I like Heather now, because she's being more of herself. Where did the idea come from to set a Real Housewives in Salt Lake City? Noah says, it originally came from Bravo through original cast member Mary Cosby. Somebody had discovered her as a great character. She was pitched and we started to find other characters along with her. Once the development team started to dig in and meet people there, they realized it was just such a hotbed of interesting, unique personalities. It wasn't planned as a Housewives. We kind of just fell into it. I went out to Salt Lake with our development team and our other executive at the time, Shiona Mix, and we all met with the women. It had already blown away. I'd already been blown away by the casting tape that I saw, and every woman that I met was even better in person. We met everybody for drinks at a bar, and then Shiona and I left, and the housewives all stayed there. And when we heard all these stories the next day, where a huge argument broke out and somebody got thrown out of the bar, they were housewives already before we even started filming them. So the executive producers is saying that it was actually Mary Cosby who was the, not necessarily anchor, but she was the first catalyst for the show. I always thought it was Lisa Barlow. Who knows? Do we believe him? Probably. I don't think he has any reason to lie. What are the ingredients of a great housewife? This is a great question. Shannon says, a sense of humor, whether intentional or not, a vulnerability and an ability to evolve and change and grow, and an openness and a willingness to really bear it all. Letting the audience into your life is a very intimidating thing, but the best housewives are just, they're open books. I agree with that. I do think a sense of humor, because there needs to be a lightness to the person. Once they get too dark, it's a wrap. Vulnerability, and I think he makes a very poignant point here, an ability to evolve and grow and change. Because I think a lot of times the reason why these shows start to get stale is because it's rinse, wash, and repeat, and there's no growth. There's no evolution. It's the same fights, the same drama, the same fake storylines, the same alliances over and over and over again. And we're not actually seeing any type of growth or change with the people. And I'll give you a good example of when we do see this and it works. However I feel about Erica Jane and her being a fraud, I'm going to park it. But the reason why this is important is look at Beverly Hills. We saw before it was Erica Jane and Lisa and whatever going against Sutton and Garcelle, rinse, wash, repeat, no evolution, no growth, no change. But the moment the women decided to grow, to change up the dynamics, however you feel about Erica, when Erica is now friends with Garcelle and Sutton, it's lighter. It's a vibe. It's enjoyable. It's nice to watch. To be honest with you, I'm not saying a trust necessarily, but I prefer to watch them as friends than as enemies. And it's refreshing to see that growth, that people can change and evolve instead of just saying, these are my alliances and I refuse to budge. I'm just going to play this role that, Lisa Rinna told me to play. Anyway, as the franchise has become more of a phenomenon, how does it affect casting? People are walking in knowing exactly what it is, which could potentially make for people trying to create what they think you want. Ding, ding, ding. Gordon says, the women, as much as they may plot and plan in their head of how they want to be and who they want to be, it never turns out like that because it's human nature that eventually your true side comes out. They may try to be perfect, but eventually they can't help but just become exactly who they are, and that's why they're on television. They're naturally extroverted. They naturally share their opinions. They have things to say, are comfortable talking about their sex life with their husband. They don't mind yelling at their kid on TV or laughing with their friend. They just run the gamut. And that's how they get through the casting process. They may try to fit a certain role or be a certain person, but it never turns out like that. Shannon says, with Monica, she was very, very front and center about her relationship with her mom and the difficulties and challenges of that and what she had been through with her ex and the affair that she had had. As the season is progressing, you're constantly reminding them, we cast you for who you are. You don't need to play some role. Yeah, you're saying that now, but that's not actually true. And I'm going to tell you why that's a lie. Number one, Monica was not very, very front and center about her relationship with her mom. That's a lie. If you watch the show, the beginning of the season, episodes maybe 1 to 3, maybe 1 to 4, Monica was acting like her and her mom had a very happy, healthy, picture-perfect relationship. She's crying at the table about, I want to fit in with the ladies. So I got to buy a Louis Vuitton bag. And, Mom, can you watch my girls when I go on the trip? And can you help me with this? She's acting like, her mom is there for her. They have a great relationship. She's there to watch the kids. And I actually think that's more of the truth. Monica only flipped with this, my mom is toxic and we're so difficult and she's this horrible Ted Bundy person after the Greek dinner. So I don't know why producers are trying to lie to us because we watched the show with our own eyes. So clearly during casting, she was acting like her and her mom was super, super close and everything was fine and she's helping her raise her kids because her husband left her and blah, 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 blah. The narrative around Monica and her mother only changed after the Greek dinner when she needed to throw her mother under the bus in order to alleviate her own accountability for how she acted at the Greek dinner. Because if Monica and her mom had this horrible relationship, then how come Monica's mom, according to Monica and her mom and the receipts, was in touch with casting and production, setting up the Bermuda family trip? You can't have it both ways. You can't say Monica was front and center about the difficulties with her mother when everything points to the otherwise up until Monica needed to throw her mother under the bus and talking about this whole abandonment on stuff, whatever. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying that Monica and her mom have a quote, textbook healthy mother and daughter dynamic. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that Monica and her mother have a very close relationship where her mother was helping her, not abandoning her. And those are two different things. You can have a very close relationship with your mother and still have it be toxic and unhealthy. The way they speak to each other, sure, but it cuts both ways. That is what I mean. There are some people who are nuance Nellies. They don't understand nuance. What I mean by this is Monica was acting like her and her mom were super close, which I do think they are super close. You can be super close to someone and still have an unhealthy dynamic with them. That's literally the majority of a lot of relationships. Are you super close with your boyfriend, but it's toxic and unhealthy? Are you super close with your mom and it's toxic and unhealthy? Sure. It happens. A lot of relationships are close yet toxic, are close yet unhealthy. Okay? That is what I mean. So this isn't true. We saw it with our own eyes. You can't lie to us. The narrative around her mother flipped when it suited her agenda. Okay? Sampton says, one of the things we tell housewives when we first meet them is you have to be yourself. If you're trying to pretend to be something that you're not, it's going to come out. The audience is not going to like you. The audience actually likes all different kinds of housewives. You can do terrible things. You can say terrible things. But if you own it and you are yourself, the audience will forgive you. If you're pretending to be somebody else, that is what the audience doesn't forgive. We're looking at you, Robin Dixon. Just kidding. The 3-part Real Housewives of Salt Lake City reunion concludes on January 23rd at 8 p.m. Dun, 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 dun. So there you have it, guys. There you have it, guys. That is the full expose from The Hollywood Reporter. And that is from the producers, both of Bravo and Shed Media, speaking out in their own words. This is not, quote, according to a source. These are the actual sources themselves. So there you go. There you go. So as always, I want to know what you guys think. Put it down below. Do you think producers are now telling the truth? Or do you think they still have something to hide? Do you think Monica should come back for season 5? Or do you think, nope, it's too scary, that is a wrap? Put your questions in your comments down below. But before you do that, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Okay, you guys, I am going to, let's see, what time is it? I'm going to drop the link in case anybody wants to come up and chat real quick. And then I'm going to shout out some of my candy cane